Greetings, one and all, from the White Mountains of Arizona. Another beautiful afternoon for some channeling. This is going to be a fun one. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Patreons and the YouTube members. I can never say the word is it Patreon? Patrons? I don't know. But thank you anyway for voting on this. We left it up to you. We posed the question, which mythical creature would you like us to channel? Werewolves, unicorns, Bigfoot, or mermaids? And the voters weighed in and chose mermaids, so that's what we're going to ask about today. I'm actually kind of excited about this. If sailors were seeing mermaids in 3D, does that mean they're part of this Earth experiment? Does that mean they're in 3D? They're in our oceans? I don't know. I want to find out. That's what we're going to ask about today. I'm not an expert on mermaids by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love pirates. Let me take this opportunity to ask you a joke, tell you a joke. You don't ask a joke. What's the pirate's favorite letter? R. Now, you would think that, but actually it'd be the C. Anyway, here's our shooting range. Tara's just getting ready here. We were just sighting in some of our weapons earlier today. So this is our shooting range. One of those times where I don't know who Tara is going to connect to, but we shall find out together, as we always do. She's holding her stuffy because she likes to wring her hands as she channels, and the stuffy prevents her from doing damage to her fingers. Takes her a few minutes to tap in.
Okay.
Okay, who do you got for us today?
An entity that would consider itself a mermaid, but since they don't use that term, they just said oceanic. They're just oceanic, that is all.
Oceanic. Fabulous. What vibrational frequency is this being in?
Fourth dimension inside the cube.
So the lower astral?
Yes.
Do you have polarity?
Neutral to negative polarity.
Does that mean some of your kind are neutral and some are negative?
Yes.
But there are no positive polarity mermaids? Oh, oceanic, sorry.
None that I am aware of.
Okay, what is your mission here in this cube?
The same as yours. Understand ourselves. Ascend out.
So just like us, you've committed a free will violation in another frequency, and you're here to learn about that violation?
Yes. To come here. A conglomeration of sorts of experiments and understand why that is. Understand all those experiments. And escape.
Are you always in the fourth realm?
It depends on the frequency of those observing.
So is it safe to say that the reason some sailors observed your kind is because they were vibrating closer to the fourth frequency?
Yes, they are creating a reality in which we were in it.
Why did they appear as half human, half fish to them?
Perhaps that is what their brains could comprehend. They are surrounded by the ocean. So it makes sense that something that appears fish-like would live within that ocean, but yet they would want to make a connection, so it has to be partly human. Otherwise, it is much more difficult to make that connection. In reality, there isn't a form, so to speak, but more in the flow of the ocean. an energy of the ocean. So to you, it would look partly like fish.
But in the fourth realm, you're just a ball of energy.
Correct.
But is it completely our egos that formulate your appearance, or do you have some input into it?
There is some input, and I said that we were a conglomeration of experiments. Think of all the worlds that were ever created, before you, after you, and presently. Think of all those beings, whether they were human or not. If you took them, put them all together, rolled them up into a ball, you would have something that might look like what you call a mermaid, somewhat like you, yet somewhat like the water that surrounds you, and you created mermaid.
So you've transcended and been a part of every single Earth experiment. You've been here for the whole thing?
For all of it.
Why does your kind get to experience every Earth experiment, but not other beings?
All beings have experienced these earth experiments in different forms. I'm not saying that there were mermaids or something like it in every single experiment, but you always say that all is one. We are merely taking the consciousness of all of those experiments and creating our own unique consciousness, which looks as we do in your mind's eye. We were of the ocean. We were of the future, your dinosaurs. We are of the past, but we are of the present. We need not have individually lived those lives, but merely understand its consciousness and integrate it into our current being.
So you must be highly intuitive because you're answering my questions before I can ask them.
We are connected to intuition. Intuition is the ocean, and the ocean is you.
So you're a very water type energy.
Yes.
At least in this experiment. You may have been other elemental energies in other experiments.
Correct.
How do you play out, those of you in negative polarity, as I see it, how do you play out that polarity?
Merely to understand the inversion of the light. What is it like to go into the depths, you might say the depths of the ocean, the parts unexplored, the parts that one might fear? But what if we went into that fear? What if we went into that darkness? What if we played upon the darkness of others who are unaware that they even hold a darkness within them? And what if we brought it out of them, almost like music, like the Pied Piper? What if we brought their fears and everything that lives at the bottom of the deepest, darkest depths of these oceans? And what if we brought them to the surface? What if they were so frightened they actually found themselves? And although it may not be a service to others type energy, as it does serve ourself, we are trying to help ourselves. We would want to bring out the darkest of all situations, the darkest of all beings, so they could face it once and for all.
So there is truth to our human mythology that you would lure sailors to their deaths. Is that for their own healing?
Perhaps it is not as literal as those stories. They say that it was a melody so beautiful, perhaps not heard by any other ear than the ear of the intended, that they were drawn to that music, drawn to that melody, until they were drowned so far out into the ocean. But not quite like that. What if the melody was your deepest, darkest shadow? And what if we called it to the surface and you were lured by it. You found it intriguing until it frightened you so much you were enveloped by it, and it caused your own demise, whether physically or metaphorically speaking.
So I like to poke at people's shadows. So would you say that you're a far more extreme version of what I do with people?
You come at it with a service to others type energy. Ours, yes, would be more of an extreme type energy, but it serves ourself to see them suffer in a way, to understand suffering. Why do you suffer yourself? It is merely a part of you. Why are you frightened of it? And so I must admit, there would be a partial joy in that. But in the end, it helps us, and I suppose it would help the other as well.
But since some of you are lower polarity, wouldn't it make more sense to learn from the light rather than create more shadow?
But there is light in that. There is the understanding that for a being to hide from half themselves throughout their lives does not serve them. And although I am serving myself by frightening them somewhat to death with their own shadows, I do understand that there is light in that there is healing in that they must know what's been hidden from them for so long so that they could bring it to their own light and heal it in their own way. I do serve a purpose. I do see the light in it.
I do understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say is, wouldn't it better serve you to focus on the light and create light in others and yourself so that you could learn from your opposite polarity?
We have done this. Now it is time for our negative polarity.
So in your evolution as a species or as an entity, you have been service to others.
Yes, at one point. You might even say we learned it during an Atlantean experiment. And now we dive into the darkness, to the unseen, and appear only to those who are ready to face their darkest fear, their own self-created fear.
So during the Atlantean experiment, you were service to others' entities, and how did you spread light? How did you spread light in that experiment?
It was coming to those who lived within their darkness and help them to see, much as we do now with the negative side of the self, their positive side. They were afraid of their light. They were afraid of what they were actually capable of because they put their power outside of themselves. So we sought to bring it out of them, to shine a light so bright that that light was, again, a fear that they created everything, that they created their world, that they were powerful beyond measure. And for some, it was so blinding they perished. Yet some embraced it, and they ascended on. And so, perhaps, there is a bit of shadow in that light, but it was light nonetheless. To empower. Empower others is also to empower the self, and that is what we did.
Are you a collective? Are you a group of individuals in this cube?
That is difficult to answer, as we are not, well, perhaps we are in a box, but we would not put ourselves in a box within a box. So just as others have put themselves in boxes, you might say Andromedans or Greys or Mantids or Pleiadians, whatever they may be, we seek not to put ourselves in a box, although you have categorized us in this way in order for you to understand everything in the form of labels. But we are everything. We are not a species. We are not a being. We are you. We are your light, and we are your shadow side. taking within it everything that has ever been and everything that ever will be, trying to understand itself and its neutral polarity and its negative polarity and within its light. We are you. We are the fragments of you, seeking to help yourselves as well as to help others. We are merely a split of your own consciousness, a fragment of source, a conglomeration of everything.
Okay, but surely you're still a singular point of consciousness with a free will violation, correct?
No, we are not a being that chose to be here through a violation, changing one's frequency in order to be here. You are here, therefore we are here. Your consciousness does not reside solely within the vessel that you inhabit. You know that you are living within other timelines, currently, as well as in the past, and as well as in the future. And although other fragments of you might inhabit other bodies, so to speak, in order to aid you in your learning, we are an offshoot of that consciousness. That offshoot is a mixture of everything that you ever were and ever will be in order to aid you in that learning. So we are not a being, so to speak. We are not whole, so to speak, but rather a piece of you, as if you've created a doppelganger for yourself to aid yourself. Some do it through AI, others do it organically. We are the organic.
So when I exit the cube vibrationally, you exit the cube vibrationally.
The piece of us that is you, that is us, yes. This is why there are other beings that try to do what is called like a piggyback method. They try to piggyback on other consciousnesses, other beings, hoping that that would be their ticket out. But we are not another being. We are not piggybacking. We are merely a piece of you, a piece of your own consciousness, split apart and everything all at once, merely here to help you. And at this moment, in this experiment, we seek, as you seek, to dive into the shadows, to dive into the darkness. For every light being, every positive polarity that seeks to understand itself in its whole, in its entirety, you created us to help you with that.
So if I connect to you in meditation, will you show me an aspect of my shadow self that I am unwilling to see?
Gladly.
But you'll do it in a very intense, dramatic way.
Beings here have created the extreme. We are the extreme, just as we were the extreme light before. But remember that that doesn't mean that we cease to exist in the past. That parts of us that are also extreme positive polarity would then still exist. So in essence, you could connect to that timeline of the extreme positive polarity mermaid, so to speak. Whatever you want to label us, whatever you would have us look like, we are just you.
Well, let's do it right now, if you would. Can you show me a shadow of mine?
Conformity. Having issue with conformity, yet somewhere deep inside seeking it. You may not want to admit it. You may not want to conform to everything around you, knowing that when one being conforms, learning ceases to exist because you look at no other options. Yet also understanding that when one does not conform, they feel rather alone, as if they are separated from all other beings. And so there is this yearning to conform, to be like the others. It is the push and pull. It is the wanting to seek and expand, yet at the same time wanting to integrate. And so sometimes you come to an impasse where you feel that those push against you, feeling absolutely alone, while at other times feeling absolutely surrounded by those who are like you. So almost creating conformity around yourself so that you do not feel so alone, but at the same time not wanting everyone to be just like you. So it is almost the extremes. I don't want to conform, but yet I do. I want others to be like me, yet I don't want them to be. This is the light and shadow. I wouldn't say that there is a wrong or right answer, but just understand that that is the energy that you exude.
So is the healing to be complacent with both extremes?
It is to understand both extremes. If you are wanting to conform, understand what the light and conformity would be, but also understand what the shadow and conformity would be. If you are not wanting to conform, if you are wanting to be something different, if you are wanting to expand in a different way, find the light and shadow in that. And if you are wanting to surround yourself with beings just like yourself, again, find the light and shadow in that, just as you would find the light and shadow in surrounding yourself in beings who are nothing like you.
That's fantastic. Thank you for showing this aspect of me that was hidden. I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate you speaking with us and sharing your knowledge, and for being part of these experiments to help us to ascend out of this cube matrix vibration. So thank you, and I love you. Do you have any last message for the people before we go?
Yes. Oftentimes, when people think of mermaids, they associate us with music. But what is music other than vibration? Wanting to, for a moment, perhaps, change your vibration, to see things from a different angle. Some music might bring you to a very dark place. Some might uplift you. Some might just match the frequency that you are at. But that is what music is. Music is frequency. Music is you. And perhaps there isn't a sound when you walk around. You don't exude music. But that is how you sound to every other being outside of the cube, and sometimes within the cube. Look into the music that you enjoy. Understand its shadow and its light. Understand how it may be aiding or hindering you. It is all learning in the process. But this is why music has been so integral, not only to humans, but plants, animals, everything. Try to play music for the wind and see how it shifts and changes.
All right. Not what I expected at all.
All right.
Do you remember that one?
Sort of.
That's one we're going to have to watch back for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Very unique type energy. It does feel like mermaid, watery-ish, but yeah, not the lure that we've been told of, like mermaids, that there's these beings and they, lure sailors out, and or like the Little Mermaid, real pretty and they sing and stuff. They're all like metaphorical.
Yeah. Well, I have such a strong water energy that I felt myself resonating with them very strongly, to the point where when they're explaining their negative actions, I was like, yeah, sure, that's great. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was interesting that they're not really a separate entity. Like they're
our
like
shadow.
They're just us. Like
they're beacons to our shadows.
Yeah.
And if we heal and leave this cube, so do they, because they're fragments of us.
But there's also an extreme light version of them as well that we could also tap into, because there's an extreme light version of ourselves.
Sure.
So yeah, interesting. They're just pieces of us. They're not really their own thing. They're us. Wow. Everything that ever was. They were like, we're dinosaurs, we're bears, we're everything.
Just fragments of our human consciousness. When I say human, I mean all of this is human.
Everything that makes up everything in the box. Yeah. Basically everything in the cube.
All right. So, thank you guys.
Wow.
Good voting.
Yeah. thank you to all of our supporters, Patreon, YouTube members. Thank you for voting on that. I had like, oh, okay, we're going to learn about mermaids. That's not how I thought that was going to
I was
go.
just thinking Ariel and
So, hey, good job.
yeah, I mean, I hope to do unicorns and Bigfoot and werewolves one day too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Interesting. So I look forward to putting out another poll and seeing what you guys vote on in the future. And for everybody else who later on will be watching this, so the rest of our subscribers and stuff like that, if you're interested in actually voting on certain topics, definitely check out Patreon, check out the YouTube members, and just see what's happening over there.
And even the $1 a month tier can vote on these?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what tier you're at, everybody gets a vote. So.
All right, very democratic.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will catch you.
We got to go
guys
dive into the
time.
depths.
Yeah, we're gonna go take a little dive.
I got to go think about this whole being part of a team thing. That was pretty deep for me.
Yeah.
Because I know that I rebel against all authority, but then she or it was right that deep down, maybe I want to be part of a team.
Yeah.
So something to think about for me.
Yeah, I mean, I only remember parts of it. So when we watch it back, I know there's a lot that I got to wrap my head around.
All right, well, thank you guys for all your
Thank you so much.
support.
And I guess we will catch you next time. Let us know what your thoughts were. Dive in with your intuition. What did your intuition say? What did your higher self have to say? If you channeled right along with it, what did you get? We'd love to hear that. So we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.